All right. Well, if you're joining us today on December 17th, welcome to the How to Become a Franchisee in 2021. Pete and I would like to talk a little bit about the trends that we see and getting started in the new year, at owning a franchise. Pete and I we met a little over 10 years ago. It was kind of an interesting story. I had owned a Comfort Keepers senior care franchise for many years. And one of the franchise owners, his name is Troy, he was telling me about this junk removal business, and Troy was going to be in Chicago. He said, you got to meet this Pete guy. And so we went to dinner, and that's how I met Pete a little over 10 years ago. We were talking about franchising and all that. And then over time, we realized, how interesting and exciting it is actually to kind of be in the franchise development side of things and seeing under the hood of a lot of franchises, up and coming and emerging brands, both service franchises, retail franchises. And so that's really what Pete and I have been focused on, especially with the Hire Yourself and the Hire Yourself podcast. We just really enjoy helping people, try to make it an educational process and help people understand or explore their different options, whether they're in corporate or whether they're kind of in between, or if they're looking to just diversify. So I think with that, I'm going to turn it over to Pete. And Pete, if you'd like to talk a little bit about what we're going to cover today.
Oh, I love talking. Thank you for letting me talk now, finally, right? So we've got a great webinar today. Got a lot of great information, but my promise or our promise to you is that we're going to talk about kind of where we see the trends in 2021 going with franchising. We're going to give you some great reasons why you should explore franchises. We're going to teach you about franchising. We're going to answer a lot of your common questions, and we're going to give you some super awesome resources at the end. So what are we going to cover today? So we're going to talk about the trends of franchising. We're going to talk about why more corporate executives are taking the path of franchise ownership. We're going to talk about, what are franchises that are available for me? And we'll talk about levels of engagement you have to be with the franchise, capital requirements, good sources of capital. We'll even talk about, hey, can I replace my corporate level income with a franchise? We'll talk about the advantages and disadvantages of franchising. We'll also talk about, hey, how do you find the right franchising? So let's start with franchising is booming. And when I get up and I talk about franchising, or Nat gets up and talks about franchising, everybody thinks of Subway, Dunkin' Donuts, or McDonald's. And franchising is huge now. There are nearly 4,000 franchise concepts out there today in 75 different industries. And it touches every aspect of our life. So when I was writing my book, I used the example is that you get up on a Saturday and you go work out. Yeah, that's a franchise. Stop off, get a cup of coffee after the workout. Yeah, that's a franchise. You pick up your dry cleaning. Yeah, that's a franchise. You get the oil change in your SUV. Yeah, that's a franchise. You get home, you pick up your kids, you take them to the martial arts class. Yeah, that's a franchise. You get done, you go to a sub shop, get a sub, and bottom line is that's a franchise. You get home, there's a van in your driveway, they're washing the windows to your house. Yeah, that's a franchising. Franchising touches every aspect of our life, and it's a big part of the U.S. economy. So according to some stats, there are nearly 800,000 franchise establishments out there today employing over 8.5 million people. And the GDP contribution is a little under $500 billion annually. Franchising is big business. And we see this trend or franchising continue to go and boom as we look at 2021. And one of the biggest trends we see is trying to meet the increased demand for both B2C and B2B services. So if you have been stuck in your house and bottom line is you're sick of it, you want to start making the environment a little better because it's just growing on you. And we're the example, right? In our house, a whole family, all 6 of us stuck in this house. And so we decided we were going to start repainting. We're going to get some window treatments in 7 windows or 7 rooms. And we were going to do some improvements from a standpoint. So, and there's lots of demand. Like if we want to try to get our window treatments Bottom line is we had to wait 2 weeks for somebody just to come out and talk to us. I couldn't get anybody earlier than 2 weeks. And literally, then I had to wait 2.5 months just to get the product. My neighbor wanted sprinkler systems this summer. Basically, was told, wait till next year. You want to get a pool? I'm sorry, but in a lot of parts of the country, you have to wait 2 years to get a pool. So bottom line is there's lots of demand out there today. And even like for services like a facility-based, a pharmacy, they need to have their facility sterilized, or even like that big box. People now, they're having to sterilize their businesses. Those are services for that. So you're seeing that people are investing their money instead of travel, they're investing it in their homes. And the businesses are kind of adapting their services to the pandemic. And what we see with service-based businesses, why this is a continued trend, is one, they're meeting demand, but they are a lower investment. They tend to be a little bit faster startup with service-based businesses. And again, they're meeting the demand for new services. The second trend we see is leveraging technology. And technology in many different ways. And so it could be something as an app that a franchise has that makes it easier for the customer, right? So maybe I can't come into your house to do an estimate. So we have an app where you show me the window, okay? Now can give me the measurements. Okay, we'll give you a virtual estimate of what it would be to do that. So give you some ideas and stuff like that. It could be, again, these consultations, estimates. Another example would be satellite images. There are franchises that use satellite images to give you an estimate to get your lawn fertilized to having your roof done. And actually a satellite image with roofing is more accurate than somebody going up there and measuring your roof, if you can believe it or not. And it's even technology applied to something simple as fitness, right? So if I'm going to do resistance training, instead of having weights on there, I actually have a computer system that is measuring the resistance of how hard I push on the bar up on the subway. So many different things as they look at leveraging technology to grow their businesses, to reduce costs, to make it a better experience for customers, or just having to deal with the current environment we have. So an advantage to franchising is that they can invest in this technology and they basically can support the franchisees. If you're a mom and pop, that's pretty tough. So third trend, we see franchises, they're taking existing products and services and improving them. Right. So an example might be a service where traditionally we were a painting franchise. Well, now we do painting. We also do window washing. We hang Christmas lights over the holiday season, whatever it may be. But bottom line is you're seeing that they're offering more value to their customers by increasing the portfolio. Or we're a painting company and we also do contract work where we build the new porch for you or whatever it may be. And they're also taking processes, and maybe, for example, I'm getting my garage floor done. And instead of it taking 3 days to do it, they come up with a way in which they can do the same process in 1 day with different products or an enhanced process. It could be something as simple as a yoga class, where they take a franchise takes it and they customize the facility so it's the optimal experience for yoga. Whether it's a special floor, special ventilation, they can control the lighting, whatever it may be. And also the ability as a member to not only go to physical classes, but do online classes, which seem to be in pretty good demand right now. And then there's also things like, for example, and I use the example of McDonald's. So McDonald's has been in the drive-through business for a very long time. And as they've had to shut down many of their restaurants or their dining areas, a good portion or more of their volume is going through the drive-throughs. So they're actually looking at how they're speeding up their drive-throughs. And again, they've been in that business for a long time, drive-throughs, but how do we continue to do that? So they're adding more value for customers. They're coming with new products or processes. They're improving the customer experience, and they're just adapting to this pandemic environment that we're in. And they're also creating new industries. So think of ghost kitchens, right? So this idea is I don't build out this 3,000 square foot restaurant or anything else like that. I have a ghost kitchen. It can be in an industrial area, and we are cooking food. We're delivering it, or people are picking it up. But the idea is that we don't have to have all that infrastructure. It could be Medi-spas, where we're seeing now where people are doing things to improve their health, not only to working out, but more so now, like for example, we know that we need maybe more vitamin D. Well, instead of taking that through pill form, you could go to a Medi-spa and get an IV drip with vitamin D to make sure that you have the right levels, and it's a much more efficient way to deliver that. Or it could be cryotherapy, where basically you go into a chamber, it's 200 degrees for 3 minutes, 200 degrees below zero, excuse me, and basically forces all the blood to this core of your body that enhances your immune system, all that kind of stuff. So, or it could be mental health, where we know that there's a real void in terms of helping people with mental illness. And I suspect as we go through this pandemic, there's going to be more people dealing with stuff. Well, maybe there's a franchise that comes out there and they provide help or assistance for people with mental health issues. And it could also be trash services. So maybe I live in an apartment. I don't want to walk down the 3 stories to take my trash to that dumpster. Maybe there's a franchise that comes to knocks on my door and takes my trash, or I put my trash outside my door and they pick it up every Monday night, or whatever it may be. Bottom line is that's what they're there for. So they're filling niches, they're responding to customers' needs, and they're also working through this kind of changing environment. And when we talk about franchising, and we'll see this trend, and I believe will always be there, is that we're always going to focus on our kids. We want to be there for our kids. We're always going to invest money in our kids. That could be swim lessons, karate lessons, tutoring, and stuff like that. People are going to make a top priority investing in their kids, and they want to teach their kids new skills, lessons. I want my kid to learn how to code, or I want them to learn martial arts, discipline, whatever it may be. And they want to keep their kids busy during these crazy times, the best of their ability. And I believe that there is going to be a void with education. My daughter's been online classes since March of this year. And I think some kids are just getting left behind. They don't all learn through Zooms. And I think it's a very tough thing. So does tutoring come in where, I've got my daughter doing tutoring in math. She's a good student, but she's just getting extra help. Bottom line is we're going to see that trend of people continue, or parents continuing to invest in their kids. So why are more corporate executives taking the path of franchise ownership, right? So the future for corporate executives, I believe we're going to see future layoffs and downsizing. I think we're going to see a continued trend of underemployment. So people doing consulting or contract work, like I look at these kind of these temporary or interim CFOs, where maybe I can't get a CFO job, but I work with a company that can get me interim positions here and there, that kind of stuff. And it could be where, it's in a world where, I grew up where people had 30-year careers. Well, now people change every 4 years. And so if you time that 4 years the wrong way, you could find yourself a little bit older again, back in true transition. And I believe there's, again, more age and unemployment discrimination. Unemployment discrimination is if you've been out of work more than 6 months, a lot of times companies will look at somebody that is employed. Maybe they have less experience, less credentials, but they're employed. So they actually look at them as a better alternative. Crazy stuff, I know. And then one of the stats that just blows me away. So if you're a 50 plus corporate executive, the stat is this: 50% of 50 plus corporate executives get pushed into retirement before they're ready. So again, 50% of 50 plus corporate executives get pushed out of their company before they're ready. And then here's even a scarier thought. Of that 50% that go get a new job, only 10% of them get the same or higher income. It's crazy. And I think the next 10 years or the next few years are going to be tough for executives, right? Job listings are down. More corporations are talking about reduced headcounts going through 2021, fewer staff and fewer executives, right? And we're going to continue to see unemployment, age discrimination. That's just the realities. And these higher paying jobs, I think, are declining from a standpoint. And when we look at it with the remote stuff that we've been doing, I think companies are learning that they need less layers of management. On the flip side is you have areas that are exploding. The hourly workers, Amazon is hiring hundreds of thousands of people from that standpoint. So you're kind of seeing a shift from, I believe, higher paying jobs to a lot of these hourly positions. And then again, as we take a look at kind of medium to large companies, they are announcing pay cuts for their executives. So one of the things that I do when an executive comes to me and says, hey, I'm interested in exploring franchising, is I ask them a very simple question. Why would you consider investing in a franchise? And here are some of the things that people tell me of why they would consider taking the path of franchise ownership. So they'll say, Pete, I want to take control of my destiny. In parentheses, I want to have freedom. I want to create an income, and that may be a primary income, that may be a secondary income, but I want to create an income. I want to build an asset that I could someday sell to supercharge my retirement, or it can be a legacy for my kids. I want to be my own boss. I want to make the decisions. I want to make a difference. Or another way to say it is I want to make an impact in the community. I want to create jobs and satisfy customers. I want to be engaged. I want to have purpose. I'm not ready to retire. I got to be doing something, but I want to be able to enjoy myself. I want to create career and income security. I don't want a company to come in 2 years from now and say, hey, we're going a different direction. Thanks so much for your time. Or we're going through a merger and acquisition. Your position's been eliminated. They want to create career and income security. A lot of people want to be rewarded for their hard work. Hey, listen, if I'm going to bust my butt, I'm going to work hard. I might as well be the one getting the financial reward opposed to that large company. I want to build, lead, and I'll even throw in mentor a team. I want to be happy. I want to be satisfied. I want to be proud. I want to create a family business where I can include my spouse, my significant other, or even my kids in the business. I want to leverage my personal capital. So maybe I've got some frozen capital in my house or my retirement dollars. I want to leverage that to create my own opportunity. And I want to beat ageism. I don't want to age out of doing what I love. So those are the reasons. Now, when we talk about investing in a franchise, what kind of franchises are available? How involved do I have to be in the franchise? So first, when we talk about franchising, as I'd mentioned before, there are over 4,000 franchise concepts touching almost everything you can think about. It touches every aspect of our life. In our simplest form, as we talk about franchising, there are service-based franchises, right? So they either go to your home or your business and they provide a product or service, right? So they can come to my home and wash my windows. They could come to my business and wash the windows, right? So, and they provide home improvement or stuff for your house. They can do professional services. So we already talked about sterilizing my business. They could be washing the windows of my business. And they also provide personal services and stuff like that. And then when we talk about facility-based concepts, so think of that strip mall down the street where somebody creates it to anything, where I can go get a haircut, I can get a massage, I can get a sub sandwich, I can get a little help with weight loss, whatever it may be. I can get my hair done. I can get lashes done, hair removal from that standpoint. And then also tutoring or for children, right? So tutoring, preschools, martial arts, sports training. So all these different things as we talk about the multiple different industries. What we do know as we talk about franchising is there is a growing movement. So as we work with executives, more of them want to work on the business, not in the business. Simply put, if it's a Hannah Stone, they don't want to be the one giving the massage. They want to be leading the business, right? And so as we talk about investing in a franchise, there are still people that they want to be the artist and they want to work in the business. They want to be the guy or gal. So they want to be the one spraying the lawn and they get a little truck and spray the next lawn. Or if it's a facility-based concept, they want to be the one making this up. So that's kind of the artisan. You're seeing more now of this kind of, we call it the executive model, where an executive comes in and they want to leverage their experience and capital into business. And they want to work on that business instead of in the business. So they don't want to be doing whatever it is, and they want to scale it over time. And as we talk about the executive model, there's full-time. So although, as the owner, you're not making sub sandwiches or spraying lawns, you're involved in the business 40 or 50 hours a week, driving the business, planning the marketing. So full-time is one side of the spectrum. The other side of the spectrum is semi-absentee, where you have a corporate job, you're doing something else, you start the business, and it takes a lot of hard work to get that business going. And you put a manager in that place and you watch over that manager 15 or 20 hours a week. Maybe more, maybe less time, but you have to be engaged in your business, watching over it, right? And the idea, whether it's full-time or semi-absentee, is that they want to scale it. They want to grow it, open up multiple locations, multiple territories to build something larger. So the focus we see a lot now is people want to keep their corporate position while starting a franchise on the side. So they can kind of leverage that executive model, semi-absentee, to create that side business. Still takes a heck of a lot of work from the standpoint. You still need to mind your business from the standpoint, but you can keep your corporate position and you can start that franchise on the side. But once it's established, again, you're watching over the business at least 15 to 20 hours a week. Some people more, some people less, but you always have to mind your business. Don't have to be there every day. And what you need to know about the executive model semi-absentee is that, number one, it takes a lot of hard work and time to launch a business, all right? Whether it's full-time or semi-absentee, it takes work to get a business off the ground. The best example I can give you is you're going to go on vacation. You get in that plane, right? Prior to COVID-19, you get in that plane, all the bags are underneath, right? The plane is full, and literally it takes a heck of a lot of power for that airline or that jet to get off the tarmac. And when it gets to a certain altitude, they're actually able to pull back the power. And bottom line is that's not any different in a business. It takes a lot of power and energy to get the business off. Then you can pull it back. You put a manager in place. And finding and leading the operating manager, if you're not there every day, that's going to be a big part of your success. You got to find the right person and you got to effectively lead them. And in all cases, you need to mind your business 15 to 20 hours a week. Some people more, some people less. And your leadership and time management skills will have a major impact on the performance of the business. It is on you to lead, to manage, and have very good time management skills as you're trying to have both the corporate role and have the business on the side. So one of the things people always ask is, hey, how much capital do I need to get into a franchise, and what are good sources of capital? So when we look at franchises, all franchise companies have basically a profile franchisees are looking for. And they'll say, hey, one, to be eligible to invest in our franchise, you have to have so much liquid capital. And liquid capital is loosely defined. It could be cash, stocks, bonds, equity in your home. Do you tap through a home equity line? It could be retirement dollars instead of investing in stocks and bonds, actually investing in your business through what is called the ROBS program. So you need a minimum of $75,000 to $100,000 liquid capital, depending if it's a service or a facility-based concept. And you need the second category is personal net worth, right? And net worth is assets minus liabilities equals net worth. And so the landlord, the leasing company, as you look at a franchise, they're gonna want to make sure you have the means. And so the franchisor is going to want to make sure that you have a set net worth. So you can expect you need a minimum of net worth of $100,000. And as we look to invest in a franchise, there is a significant range in terms of the investment levels. And we'll kind of talk about the minimum investment levels. So from a service-based franchise, you can expect the minimum investment for a service-based franchise concept is $100,000, or simply put, it'd be $100,000 or greater for a service-based business, because it depends on the size and the number of territories, the type of equipment, working capital needs, stuff like that. Now, when we talk about facility-based concepts, the total investment will be something greater than $200,000. Certainly, because we're building out that facility. Maybe it's the equipment size, the furnishings, the working capital, but it'll be something greater than 200,000, because it'll be 250, it could be 550,000, something greater than 200,000. And as we look to invest in a franchise, you can leverage many different sources or resources to fund the capitalization of your business. So a lot of people are using, and I call this the funding wheel, a lot of people are using SBA loans. The SBA, Small Business Administration, basically backs or supports local financial institutions providing a loan to you. SBA kind of protects that loan. And the idea is an SBA loan can be from $50,000 to $5 million. It's a variable rate, so it's prime plus something. You'll find that there's many fees association, origination fee, things like that. So there's many fees with it, but it is a good source or resource for capital. There are traditional loans. Another term for that would be conventional loans. And generally speaking, with traditional or conventional loans, they are essentially designed for somebody that's got industry experience. So you really have to have an industry experience. So if you were going into a franchise, you didn't have much experience with that, most likely you're not going to get a conventional loan or a commercial loan. But again, kind of the prime plus a certain rate, origination fees, all that kind of stuff. Some franchisors do in-house financing, or they've set up third-party financing. So they have some financing available. And then there are a lot of people that are leveraging equity in-house. With interest rates being so low, they're using a line, taking frozen capital out of their house and funding their business. So people are leveraging friends and family. Some people are using outside investors. A lot of people are using retirement dollars, taking their 401k, instead of that 401k investing in stocks and bonds, actually investing in their business through what is called the ROBS program. And some people are using their line, a line at their brokerage account. So they have a brokerage account, they leverage a line against it to fund their business. One of the questions that people ask me is, Pete, can I replace my corporate income with a franchise? And the answer to that question is the financial performance of the business depends 100% on you. Only you can answer that question. Now, I can tell you there are, I believe, 5 factors to replacing your corporate income. Number 1, it takes a lot of hard work. Number 2, it takes time and scale, and only you can determine how much time and scale it's going to take to replace your corporate level income. And you are going to have personal accountability. I used the example the other day with somebody where, hey, listen, I used to wrestle in high school. I was a terrible wrestler, but I wrestled, right? And you get out on that mat and you're there with your opponent. It is 100% me. I can't blame anybody else. I had to be accountable for my performance when I was out on the mat. It's not any different. It's your business. You are personally accountable for that business. And you always want to kind of leverage a franchise, from the standpoint of they've got a good system, they got good support from that standpoint. So some people actually invest in franchises and they don't use the system. They don't really leverage the support. So you got to leverage those. And you got to be good at solving problems. Entrepreneurs, by the nature of it, solve problems. A franchisor is not always going to be able to solve your problems. It is your job to figure it out. It's your business. Now, they may give you some help, but at the end of the day, it's your job to solve the problems. So as I've mentioned, when we look to replace a corporate level income, it takes time and scale, and only you can determine how much time and scale. This is kind of a fun example. It is not designed for investment decisions. This is a fun example, right? So these are all fictitious numbers. But let's just say on the left-hand side, you're a person that I just want the corporate job. I have this corporate job, and each year I get a little merit raise or a increase in salary, right? So I start out with 200,000. By year 5, I'm making $240,000. And the company comes in and says, oh, sorry, we're reorganizing, we're going a new direction. We don't need you anymore. Well, you basically have been renting, as Nat would say, you're renting your income. That $240,000 is not an asset. That is gone. Maybe you get a little bit of severance, but the idea is that is gone. There is no asset evaluated. That's it. Now, let's say that you get crazy and you say, listen, I'm just going to focus the same 5 years on building a business. I'm going to put 100% of my attention, that executive model full-time. And I'm going to open up 3 locations of a franchise concept. And let's say the first year I open up the first location, but I don't take any salary. I'm just focused on getting the thing going. Year 2, I decide I'm paying myself a little salary, $50,000 in the first location. Unit 2, I'm just going to get it open. Year 3, I'm going to pay myself a little salary, first unit, a little salary, second unit. Third unit, I'm going to get open. Well, it starts getting interesting year 4. So I start taking a salary of $100,000 on the first unit, $75,000 in the second, little income, little salary for the third unit of $50,000. Year 5, I take unit 1, I pay myself salary of $125,000, unit 2, $100,000, unit 3, $75,000. Well, now I've created an income of $300,000 for myself, and I've built an asset that I could sell for a multiple, right? Now, so I've kind of created this replace my income, and I've got this asset. Now, what if I do the executive model semi-absentee? And again, I've already told you it's a lot of hard work. You gotta be good at time management, leading, all that kind of stuff. But let's say you kept that corporate job and you had $240,000 worth of income after year 5. You built a business that is generating you a secondary income or another income of $300,000 in terms of a salary, and you built an asset that you can sell, or it could be a legacy for your kids. But again, it really determines on you, your performance, on how much time and scale it takes to get to where you want to go. I do know that to be a business owner, you have to have some of the success traits. And I believe as we look at investing in the business, you want to be disciplined. You want to be confident. You want to be open-minded. You want to be a self-starter. You want to be competitive. You want to be creative. You want to be determined. You certainly have to have passion, strong people skills, and work ethic. All businesses, it takes work to drive them. Now, with franchising, there are disadvantages and advantages to franchises, right? So as we talk about the disadvantages to franchising, well, you're going to pay a franchise fee to use that business model for a period of time. So that could be $50,000. You're going to pay a franchise fee from some point. And then the franchisor is going to provide ongoing support, and you're going to pay a royalty, which in most cases is a percentage of your revenue. And it could be 3%, it could be 8%. It's some percentage of your revenue. And franchise companies are going to have restrictions. They're going to want you to do certain things, right? Protect the brand. We don't want you to get crazy in the way in which you're delivering the brand message. Now, they will allow you to kind of follow the system. Your job is to follow the system, A, B, C, and D, right? And so you follow the system. You can make it better, but you have to follow a system if you invest in a franchise. And a franchise is a long-term commitment. It's agreement. You're buying the rights to use that franchise for a period of time, 5 years, 10 years, that kind of stuff, to use that business model. And like with all business, there is risk. There is risk of failure. Now, with a franchise, we try to mitigate that risk, but there is always risk. And if we pick the wrong partner, very similar to with marriage, with a franchisor is a business partner. If you pick the wrong partner, it can be a painful experience. Now, there are advantages to franchising. So one, they're providing the operating system. They tell you literally follow A, B, C, D, and E. This is what you do. Think of it as a business in a box. It's turnkey. It is just literally you follow the system. And they provide training. They provide ongoing support. And there's a real value of being part of a franchise system. Not only do you get the support from the franchisor, but you're part of a network of other franchisees. And if you want to understand the value as you evaluate franchises going forward, you could talk to franchisees to say, oh, how did the last 9 months of COVID-19 go? Right. And what you're going to find is you're going to find out, did the franchisor step up as a business partner and help them navigate these crazy times that we went through the last 9 months, or adapt the business model to survive, to thrive, or whatever it may be. And also, you can call upon those other franchisees. So you're not a mom and pop. You're out there by yourself in the cold weather. You got a franchisor. You got other franchisees that you can lean on as you go forward to try to make it through the storm, whatever it may be. And I believe with franchising, you're improving your chance of success. As I talked about before, we're trying to mitigate the risk. We can never eliminate the risk. It can save you time because somebody else has kind of already figured it out. It can save you capital. You make less mistakes. That can save you capital. So somebody's already proven it out and they're refining the business model. Maybe it's enhancing the marketing, whatever it may be, but that's why there's some real advantages. And again, I think of franchising as entrepreneur-like. Running a business is a lot of hard work. There's just no question about it. But the idea behind it is that we always want to make sure that we're driving and going with the business. So how do you find the right franchise for you? Well, I think you take an inventory and you got to know what characteristics you're looking for in a business, right? So what level of engagement do we want to have, right? Am I comfortable managing people? Do I like business development? Do I want a lifestyle business? Do I want business to be Monday through Friday, or are you okay with the 24/7? 365. How important status is? So it's important you understand the characteristics of what you're looking for. You also got to know what you want to accomplish. I want to replace my corporate level income, or I want to create a supplemental income of blank. I want to build an asset, whatever you want to do. I want to make a difference in the community, impact. Whatever it may be, you got to take an inventory of that. And you want to leverage a good investigation process. Ultimately, as you look at investing your money into a franchise, it's your due diligence. You're going to have to do that. So we want to leverage a good investigation process. We always want to keep an open mind as we explore franchises, looking for one that fits, because a lot of times what we believe to be true and what is true about a business model or a concept may be totally different from a standpoint. And I always tell people that very seldom do we get a chance to go explore a new path. We get kind of caught up in our career. So when we explore franchises, have fun with it, because you haven't committed to invest in a franchise. All you've committed to do is to have some conversations with great people, learn about some cool businesses. It may or may not be for you, but have fun learning. And I always tell people, don't turn your hobby into a business, right? Because the definition of a hobby is something you do outside of work. If you make your hobby your business, it becomes work. There's a great example of a book in E-Myth Revisited. It talks about this gal. She loved baking. She decided she loved baking so much she's going to open up a bakery. Well, she turned her hobby into a business and it didn't turn out so well. Great case study there. So when we're looking to invest in a franchise, I want you to think of good, better, and best. And what I mean by that is that there's many different ways in which you can go try to find the right franchise or the right match for you from the standpoint. So you can go to some of these sites and they'll basically have a list of franchisees, and you can click on those franchises and they're going to send you some information, and they're good resources. You're going to put your information in, and your information may be sold. So you may be contacted by franchisors franchise consultants might buy the opportunity to talk to you from a standpoint. So by the end, you may want to shut off your phone, shut down your email. It can be overwhelming. A better way is go see a business you like, go to their website and see if they offer franchise opportunities. It's very direct. It's very simple. The problem is that you're kind of an organic lead for them. So you're probably not going to get as much attention. Number two is you're going directly into their sales funnel. You don't really have anybody helping you through it. So the best way is leveraging a franchise consultant. In most cases, that's a free service from that standpoint. And they connect you with potential franchise matches. Only you and the franchisor can determine if there's a match there, but they kind of help you figure it out. And they're there by your side, kind of coaching you and giving you resources. So how Nat and I help people on their journey of exploring franchises. And again, it's your due diligence, it's your investigation, but we're there to kind of assist from the standpoint of having them complete a very simple questionnaire so we can get an understanding of what's important to them. We'll do a consultation call, talk to them for about 75 minutes and just ask questions and really just learning. We will create a written summary of the interest, the candidate's interest. We'll call that a model. So it's a nice tool for them to look back and say, hey, this is what I determined it was important to me. We'll use that information. We'll go look for franchises that align with their interest. We leverage a company called Franchise out of Minneapolis. They've been doing it for 20 years. And so we'll leverage that. We'll come back with some franchises that align with their interest. We'll connect them to the companies. And then they dig in and they do their due diligence. So the candidate, the individual who's exploring the franchises, does their due diligence. Now we're there helping educate them on things and coaching them and giving them resources and helping them get through the fear at the end, which happens to so many of us from a standpoint. And as we think about exploring or investigating franchises, things that you may want to consider when you're investigating franchises is, hey, what's the experience of the leadership team? What kind of experience do they have? What's the support I get for launching the business and the training that I get? How happy are franchisees? Are they happy? Are they making money? What's the image and reputation of the franchise? What's the size of the franchise system? Are there 5 franchisees or 500? Is it an upcoming concept? Is it a Medi Spa? Or is it a place where I get my haircut that's been around for 20 years? What's the culture and the feel of the organization? Is it a kind of feel like a family, or does it feel like it's a Fortune 1000 company? What's the marketing model? What's the marketing model with that franchise system that you're going to use to find your customers? What's the ongoing support? Will they have a regional ops person that comes out to you once a month or once a quarter? Do they do a call to review your performance each month, right? What is the ongoing support that you're going to get? And what's the level of assistance? If it's a facility-based concept, how do they help you find the location, negotiate the lease, build out the facility? And what's the strength of the financial company? So people that are exploring franchises, we'll call this the candidate investigation procedure or the process. Again, on the left-hand side, we need to know what's important, what characteristics we're looking for in a business. We want to kind of know what level of engagement and that kind of stuff, what kind of customers are of interest to us, and get in front of franchise companies. So as you go through the process to evaluate or do your due diligence of a franchise concept, only you can do this. And there are 4 core steps in the journey of exploring or investigating franchises. And now some people do go through these steps in 4 weeks, some people do in 12 weeks. It's not about the number of weeks, it's the importance of these 4 steps. The first step is the introduction call. And that's really where you are going to have your first initial call. They're going to give you a great explanation of the concept. They're going to answer a lot of your questions. You're going to get to know them. They're going to try to decide if they like you. You're going to try to decide if you like them. Franchise disclosure document, all franchises are required to have it. It is mandated. It's 23 different items. It's the standard format. They're very large documents, but it has everything you need to know in this document. They're going to give you a copy of this. They'll ask you to review, and they'll have a call to review and answer your questions. The third step is the most important step. Put a star by that. Is validation, conversations with existing franchisees. This is really where you find out if franchisees are happy or making money, or another term is this is where the rubber meets the road. The last step is what we call a discovery day, meet the team day. This is more about the relationship. You're feeling good about a franchise company. They're feeling very good about you. Prior to COVID-19, they would be inviting you out to their corporate headquarters. Today, now we're doing Zoom like everything else. But this idea is it is about getting to the leadership team, meeting support staff, and in many cases, seeing the operations. There are other little steps in between, but these are the 4 core steps that most people do as they do their validation and due diligence of franchise concepts. So if you are thinking about 2021 and you want to explore franchising, pick up the phone, call us, or you can put your information in here. You can request a quick call, and we'll set up just a quick conversation. We'll kind of discuss your situation and talk a little bit more about what we do to kind of help you explore to see if franchising is the right path. We'll give you some awesome resources, but we're here if you just want to kind of explore and see if franchising might be the right path. And as we come to an end here, what I would tell you is that franchising, it's continuing to boom, and it will continue to boom. It's a big part of the economy. It's a great way for people to create a new path for themselves or diversify their assets, income, create career and income security. So in many ways, it's a wonderful path. Now, it's not for everybody, but you owe it yourself to explore to see if it may be the right path for you. So encourage you to reach out, schedule a quick conversation with us, and we can have a quick conversation. So with that, Nat, I'm going to turn it over to you, and I'll let you handle the Q&A.
That sounds good, Pete. You have a couple seconds. You can grab a drink of water, and we'll get the Q&A paired up. Here's one. Brad had a question. He was wondering if if Orange Theory has available territories.
Orange Theory, boy, what a huge success, right? High intensity interval training started by a dynamic woman. And bottom line is they're pretty much sold out in most cases, right? Unless you want that small town somewhere in the middle of nowhere. They're actually now expanding international. So there are many franchise concepts that have taken the Orange Theory business model and I believe made it better. So if that's of interest, you kind of like what they do, that high intensity interval training, there are options out there that play in that space that do have available territory.
Yeah. I had one guy that was so in love with Orange Theory. He was actually in the process of moving to England to open up 8 Orange Theories.
And I'm like, I rest my case.
Yeah, I'm like, that's awesome, but I think for myself, I just stay in, Chicago and open up something else, but I don't know. Okay, another question. So it's December 2020. Tell me, the question is basically, how long does it take to get my doors open, whether it's retail or service?
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about timing. So I'm going to talk about it in 2 parts. The first part is finding the right business partner, finding the right franchise, right? So when I talked in the presentation, if we started looking today, right? So we do a consultation call, we get a good understanding of what's important to you, what you're looking for in a business, and we connect you to franchise companies, it would take a couple months to do your due diligence. So if we're January 1, by March 1st, most likely you're in a position to invest in the business. All right, that's pretty good. You can work faster or slower, but that's pretty good. 2 months. So March 1st. If you were to invest in a service-based franchise in March 1st, bottom line is that you most likely are going to go to training in March, the end of March, or sometime in April. And when you get back from that training, you're open. Pete's Plumbing is open for service in April of 2020. That's pretty realistic, right? If it's a facility-based concept, if you made that same decision March 1st, well, bottom line is you have to go look for that site. And that may take you 4 months to find that location. It may take you 6 months, but let's just say, or 12 months. So let's just say it's 6 months. So October 1st, you find that great location. Well, now you've got to build out that facility, all that kind of stuff. So most likely, if it's a facility-based concept, you're opening your doors sometime in the first quarter of 2021 would be a pretty good guess from a standpoint. Again, some people faster, some people slower, but those are pretty good kind of guidelines in terms of timing.
Yeah, and I know for the real estate side of things, there's going to be a lot more opportunities and a lot more good deals on development for real estate. So Jeff has a quick question. He said, how do I get my wife on board?
Well, I learned the hard way. The most important thing you can do is to have your wife, your spouse, your significant other, as you're investigating the business, do it with you. Right. So when you're going through and you're doing that consultation call with us, or you're having that first conversation, that introduction call with the franchisor, you're doing validation calls, you're going to that discovery day or meet the team day. In all cases, you want to do that with your spouse. So ultimately, they're in a fair position to support it. if you do what I did, and I was very dumb, I went and found the perfect business for myself. And then I went and told my wife the business that we were going to invest our retirement dollars in. and that didn't go well. I learned that I did a tour instead of with her. So the most important thing to do is do it hand in hand with your spouse, your significant other.
Talk a little bit. I know you told me at one point about kind of your two bucket concept too, which helped out your wife.
Well, so my wife, she worried a lot about us investing in a franchise. She seemed to think we had we had 4 young kids, we had a mortgage to pay, and she really worried at a business. Are we going to be able to pay our mortgage? Are we going to be able to feed and clothe these kids? So what I did is I created the 2-bucket approach, and the 2-bucket approach is very simple. I looked at what the investment would take to get into that business. So remember, we talked about the investment range. So whatever that was, I figured that's how much capital I had for the business. And then I took another chunk of money and I put it in another bucket, and I labeled that money to cover the mortgage and feed the kids and clothe the kids. So I showed my wife the 2 buckets. I said, okay, we got this much money here. That's to launch the business. And I got this other bucket that you can watch every day, and you can see we got money that if we need to, we can pay the mortgage, we can feed the kids with it. So from that standpoint. Now, for me, when I was looking to escape the corporate world, I looked at the 2 buckets as one, meaning I looked at that as my total investment to get myself free so that I didn't have to ever be connected to the corporate world again. Right. So, but for my wife, so that she could see that money, so that she knew that we could stay living in our house and we could feed our kids and stuff like that. So that was just a nice way for me to kind of help her through that.
Well, I really think it's kind of the genius of the franchise concept, right? Where, we're putting our money literally where our mouth is. And nobody's more motivated to be successful than somebody that, just spent, hundreds of thousands of dollars to start their own business. Like you're going to make the phone calls and you're going to go, you're going to follow up, I would imagine. Right. So,
yeah, well, I mean, what is it? Anthony Robbins basically says you're burning the boats, right?
Yeah.
You're not going back, right? Burn the bridge, burn the boats, whatever. You can't go back. You're taking the hill. You're going to be successful, whatever it takes. And again, we talked about that earlier in the presentation, right? It's on you. It's 100% accountability. You can have a great franchise system, but at the end of the day, you have to execute. You have to drive the business. You're accountable for it.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of guys I work with, I like to kind of encourage them, because I think a lot of times you always get kind of, that fear and anxiety before you make that big leap of faith. But if you've been successful, I always say that the past success is a good indication of your future success. So if you've been successful all through your corporate life and you're a hard worker, I think that if you apply those principles to your own business with the support of a franchise, I think it dramatically increases your chances of success.
Yeah, and I think there's people that have had great success in corporate world, and then they go invest in a franchise, but they don't follow the system.
Yeah,
like I worked with a guy. No, and he'd run a division of a company, and he invested in a window washing franchise, right? And he started out and he was terrible, right? Franchisor came back and said, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Hey, listen, I understand business. I've run a division of a company." And they said, "Yeah, no, we know you got all this business acumen. Just follow the system. Just A, B, C, D, and E. Just do what we tell you to do, right?"
Right.
So he starts doing it. Well, now he's in the top 10% of the network.
Yep.
Because he just literally applied his business acumen, his leadership skills, follow the system. And then you got to work really hard. There's no getting around working hard.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, I think that was a great webinar today, and I'm feeling very positive about 2021. I'm really looking forward to getting 2020 in the rearview window, and nowhere to go but up from here, right?
Yeah. Well, I think there's going to be, with tough times, there's always opportunity.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not saying we're prospering off of COVID-19, but as a country, when we went through tough times, there's prosperity that comes with it, and I think there is so much pent up demand for services, and even this need of just like going. How many people say to me, "Pete, I just want to go back to my yoga class." Right. I just want to go back out to dinner with my friends. Right. And so there's going to be a lot of pent up demand, and that presents opportunity in the right situations.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us, and be sure to follow us on our podcast on iTunes and wherever else you like to listen or watch videos or what have you. Thanks for listening to the Hire Yourself podcast. For more resources, check out our website at hireyourself.com. And remember to subscribe to this podcast to receive each episode. Please leave us a rating, and we'd love to hear your feedback or suggestions for topics.